Something about Jason Morgan's highly anticipated return to Port Charles stayed with me. We all knew he was coming back. We all knew the WSB captivity had changed him. But there was a specific detail, a quiet choice he made, that I couldn't stop thinking about. Jason has been back in town for over a week, and he hasn't reached out to Britt Westbourne. Not once. At first, it didn't seem important. It made sense that he would want to prioritize Danny Morgan, taking him on a father-son vacation to reconnect after such a traumatic separation. But the more I think about it, the more this deafening silence towards Britt feels incredibly heavy. It doesn't seem accidental. Let's just pause and look at the reality of the situation. Jason is a man who acts with purpose. If he wanted to see the woman he loves, if he wanted to share the relief of his freedom with her, he would have found a way. Instead, he deliberately stayed away. We saw him announce his departure from Sonny Corinthos' mob organization, a monumental shift in his character. We saw him make Danny his absolute top priority, vowing to protect his son from the dangers of his past life. But Britt was left completely in the dark, entirely unaware that the man she has been waiting for is already breathing the same Port Charles air. Now, we are following the thread into this week's upcoming events. The promotional footage shows a moment that should be joyous but feels entirely wrong. Jason shows up at General Hospital and accidentally bumps into Britt in the corridor. You can see the immediate, overwhelming joy flash across Britt's face. She clearly thinks this is it, the emotional, romantic reunion she has been desperately hoping for since she was cleared of her legal troubles in Tortola. She doesn't even know he has been back for over a week. She likely assumes he came straight to the hospital the moment he was released to find her. But if you watch closely, Jason's demeanor tells a completely different story. He is stiff. He is cold. He looks deeply uncomfortable, almost pained by her presence. I can't shake the feeling that we are walking into a disaster. This isn't the look of a man who is overwhelmed by love. This is the look of a man who has prepared himself for an execution. He isn't going to pull her into a passionate embrace. He is going to break her heart. I keep coming back to the exact phrasing he might use. Jason isn't a man of many words. He won't give a long, drawn-out explanation. I expect him to look her dead in the eye, seeing all that hope shining in her face, and deliver a short, brutal sentence. We are done. Just like that. A handful of words designed to shatter her hopes instantly and permanently. For Britt, who just survived the nightmare of Ross Cullum's poison vials and the psychological torment of a fake Huntington's disease diagnosis, this will be an absolute collapse. But here's where we have to look deeper. This brings us to the shadow beneath the story. The narrative everyone sees, the narrative Jason wants everyone to see, is a man who has simply moved on. A man whose priorities have shifted so drastically during his imprisonment that romance no longer fits into his new life. But there is a second story playing out right beneath the surface, one that is far more tragic. Jason didn't go to General Hospital to sweep Britt off her feet. He didn't even go there to break up with her. If you ask me, Jason went to General Hospital as a patient. We have to remember the brutal reality of what he just survived. The WSB captivity wasn't just a holding cell where he sat quietly waiting for rescue. It was months of intense interrogation, physical torture, and systemic abuse designed to break the unbreakable man. The external wounds, the cuts, the bruises, and the broken bones might have healed during his time in isolation and his quiet vacation with Danny. But the internal damage, the neurological trauma, the organ stress, the unseen scars is a completely different story. The human body, even one as resilient as Jason Morgan's, can only take so much extreme trauma before it begins to fail on a catastrophic level. Maybe there's another layer here. It is highly possible that Jason is experiencing severe, terrifying symptoms from his time in captivity. What if we're missing something massive about his physical condition? I keep wondering whether Jason already suspects that his body is failing him in a way that cannot be fixed. Let's look at the facts again, but this time through the lens of a man who knows he is dying. He quit the mob, walking away from the only life he has known for decades. He dedicated every waking second to Danny, trying to cram a lifetime of fatherhood into a few short weeks. He completely isolated himself from Britt, the woman he loves. These aren't just the actions of a man who has changed his outlook on life. They are the actions of a man who believes his time is rapidly running out. What if Jason is dealing with a terminal illness brought on by the WSB's torture? If Jason only has a few months left to live, every single out-of-character decision suddenly makes perfect, devastating sense. The breakup with Britt isn't born out of a lack of love or a cold heart. It is a tragic, agonizing sacrifice. He knows Britt just survived the psychological hell of believing she was dying of Huntington's disease. She finally learned that the diagnosis was a cruel, manipulative lie orchestrated by Ross Cullum and Jen Sidwell to control her. She finally has her future back, a future she thought was stolen from her forever. How could Jason possibly burden her with a real terminal illness right after she miraculously got her life back? To Jason, breaking her heart with a lie is a kinder fate than forcing her to become a caretaker to a dying man. The tension in this situation is becoming unbearable. By pushing Britt away, by making her believe he no longer cares, Jason is trying to spare her the agony of watching him slowly deteriorate. He would rather she hate him than mourn him. The emotional undercurrent here is suffocating. We are watching a man willingly make himself the villain in the eyes of the woman he loves, all to protect her from a pain he knows she cannot handle. And then there is Dr. Tristan Roberts. The newly arrived surgeon at General Hospital has already made a significant impression, mostly by clashing with Britt Westbourne. But Tristan might be the crucial key to this entire hidden mystery. If Jason is secretly seeking medical help for his failing health, Tristan is exactly the kind of highly skilled, discreet doctor who would handle his complex case. Imagine the tension of that unseen consultation. Tristan, running the extensive tests, looking at the grim scans, and realizing the fatal reality of Jason's condition. Tristan would become the only person in Port Charles who knows the absolute truth about why Jason Morgan is acting this way. He would hold the secret that explains the end of Jason's mob career and the destruction of his relationship with Britt. Meanwhile, Britt is a brilliant, highly observant doctor. Once the initial shock of the brutal breakup wears off, she will inevitably sense that something is profoundly wrong. She will realize that Jason didn't come to the hospital just to wander the halls. He came for a medical reason. She will notice Tristan Roberts' involvement. The tension will skyrocket as Britt desperately tries to pry the truth out of her new rival, Tristan. But Tristan, despite their rocky start and any sympathy he might feel for her broken heart, is strictly bound by medical ethics and HIPAA laws. He won't be able to say a word. He will have to look Britt in the eye and refuse to confirm or deny anything about Jason's health. This will leave Britt entirely in the dark, frantically trying to piece together the puzzle of the man she loves, knowing deep down that he is hiding something monumental. Something feels unfinished about all of this. We are watching a tragedy unfold in slow motion, layer by painful layer. Jason Morgan, the legendary enforcer, the ultimate survivor, the man who has beaten death in countless shootouts and explosions, might finally be facing an enemy he cannot fight. An enemy inside his own body. And Britt Westbourne, who fought so incredibly hard to clear her name in Tortola, to regain her medical standing at General Hospital, and to survive the nightmare of her fake illness, might finally win her freedom only to lose her heart in the most agonizing way possible. The layers of this story are so dense, so steeped in quiet sacrifice and silent suffering, that it is hard to look away. We are stepping into a dark hallway with this storyline. With every new detail, the picture becomes more heartbreaking. Jason's return to Port Charles was never going to be a simple happily ever after, but I don't think anyone was prepared for this level of tragedy. I can't shake the feeling that Jason's return isn't a new beginning at all, but rather the start of a very long, very painful goodbye to the people he loves most. The story is far from over, the shadows are only growing longer, and we are just beginning to see the true cost of Jason's freedom.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.